Welcome to Scale, Sports, Knowledge, and Life. Let's learn, let's apply, and let's scale up. Welcome to Scale, Sports, Knowledge, and Life. Today we have episode 11 with a special guest, Faith. Welcome to Scale, Faith.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to bring you on, and I look forward to talking with you today and learning a little bit more about your story and your journey as a student athlete. As you know, Scale is for the younger athletes. So I try to bring on former athletes on to kind of share their story, give gems, advice, tips, anything you can share with the younger generation will be extremely appreciated. So without further ado, you want to rock and roll?
Yes, sir. We're ready.
All right, sounds good. So I typically start off each session with just kind of seeing how you're doing mentally and how's your mental space.
Right now, my mental space, it's a daily thing that you have to get through. Some days may
Mm-hmm.
be great, some days may not be. With COVID, with people being sick, with deaths, it changes your mental headspace. You can be fine, and then you find out, something happens to someone, or someone is sick, and it can change just your own mental space. Just being able to deal with the day to day of COVID. You can go to the store without a mask, but should you wear a mask? Like that type of thing. Do I stay away from people? Do I talk to people? Do I touch this? It can wear on your mind a lot. So just being able to, direct myself through those life changes that we have right now that we aren't able to control completely, can make it a up and down roller coaster. But overall, pretty good, doing pretty well.
That's good. That's good. That's good to hear. And I agree, this COVID, these times, it's ups and downs, ebbs and flows. That's just how life is. But knowing how to handle that and how to tackle it, whether it's seeing a counselor or talking to a friend or family, someone you trust, just kind of make sure that you keep that balance because it's very important. All right, so we'll dive straight in. So we know you're an athlete. So if you can kind of tell us where you found the love of playing sports, like where did that come from?
Um, the what's different, and I love sports, so I'm a sport person. I'm a competitive person. It probably started when I was young. Me, myself, and my cousin, all we did was run around outside. We
Mm-hmm.
created games. We didn't do any organized sports as children, but I feel like we created our own. We were in our grandma's backyard playing basketball, football, baseball, t-ball, whatever we can find. We hit rocks, kick balls over the house. We made up our own games. Box ball was our thing, and we were competitive with each other. So from like the time that we both can walk till we got older, we were always competitive with each other. I never played organized sports until sixth grade. I was tall. I was very tall. I did like cheer for a little bit as I thought I wanted to be like a dancer. That's what I really wanted to do in my life, I think. But my dad was like, "We want you to be sports." So I would say in fifth grade, my gym teacher was like, "Hey, you're tall. You should play basketball. So your dad, you should play basketball." And so I'm like, "Okay." And I went home and I told my dad that the gym teacher told me to play basketball. And the next year I went to sixth grade and I tried out for cross country. And I didn't know what it was. I was just like, it's a sport. I'm going to try it. It's going to be great. I
Right.
didn't, it was very different. So started off, that was my first sport, which was cross country. And my dad's like, you have to run miles and miles. I was like, I don't care. I just want to do it. And I did it. Let's just say it wasn't the best. And I only did it 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I played basketball in sixth grade and I was only 5'5". So I was
Mm-hmm.
tall, but like not super tall.
Right.
And I also did track and field where I did all. I ran, I jumped, I threw, I did everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Moving through middle school, I quit cross country because that just wasn't for me. And I became, I only did basketball and track.
Mm-hmm.
And then in eighth grade, they were like, you're tall. I went from 5'5" to 7th grade, I was 5'7". To eighth
Wow.
grade, I was 5'9". So I
Wow.
jumped a, a lot of inches between that time. And they're like, I want you to play volleyball. And that's where I started volleyball. I was just tall and athletic. I didn't know really much about it, but I started playing that. Then I wasn't going to play in high school. They convinced me because then I was 5'10" in high school. So 5 inches in 3 years was a lot. And I played volleyball and did track and field in high school. So that's really how it started from a child. I wasn't no organized sports, and then I sports became my life. So high school, I did club at one point from I would say like December to July. I didn't have a Saturday off. I played club volleyball, AAU basketball, and did track all at the same time. And I did summer track as well. I did school ball. I did a lot. So every Saturday was taken up.
Like,
Every
oh
every weekend I would. I'm from Fort Wayne, and I moved to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and we would have meets and basketball games like in the same weekend. And so I would go from a track meet to a volleyball game, or from a volleyball game to a basketball game. Like I was just doing all of it at the same time, and I loved it. It was just got a lot of friends. I did that, and that was the biggest portion of my high school career. I literally did 3 sports all 4 years.
wow. Wow. So let me try to like make sure I follow. So, growing up, you and your cousin, you didn't play nothing organized. You guys just played outside, have fun, with other kids in the neighborhood or just yourselves, and then you kind of got to middle school where you're like, okay, let's play some sports. So you looked into cross country, you did it, you didn't really fall in love with it, so you also tried basketball.
Yes.
Basketball was fine, then you did track and field as well. And, I think you got to eighth grade, you also explored the volleyball. So you were kind of like just testing the waters, like, hey, why not? I'm young. Let me just try all these sports and find which one I love, or, which one loves me back pretty much.
Right.
So then you talked about, which was perfect. You talked about your transition into high school. So high school, you focused on three, which was, and correct me if I'm wrong, basketball, volleyball, and track and field.
Yes.
Right. And track and field, you did it all. Volleyball, you said you did, what's it called? Club ball. You did
Football.
summer track and field, and you did
Summer track.
basketball AAU, right?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so let's kind of switch a little bit and talk about academic, because you have a lot going on. Like you said, every weekend you're booked. Like you're doing something. You're traveling AAU, sometimes out of state, I'm sure, or out of the city maybe. Or so just kind of talk about balancing everything as a high school student, and also your academic success as well.
I will say my balance in all is time management. My mom was very organized when it came to you're
Mm-hmm.
doing this and you're doing that. We're preparing for it all. If we're gonna do it, we're gonna be successful at it. And in order for you to be successful, academics is first. My grandparents were, my grandmother is like academics. We want you to, you can do all the sports, but making sure that you have that academic side. You can't let any of that slip. And so I was a honor student. I learned I was a perfectionist, and I was like, I
Mm-hmm.
have to make sure that I'm amazing in this. I also have to make sure that my grades are amazing. So I would always make sure I was prepared for everything, make sure my homework was finished, make sure I'm completing all my assignments, because I know I have too much going on. If it's a project, I'm going to get it done when I have the time to do it. If that's on
Mm-hmm.
the bus, if that's in the car ride, if that is asking ahead of time. I love my teachers. So my teachers knew, all the different things I was, doing. And so they made sure that I stayed on task, and I, kept an agenda of this, and this. So just being able to, with the academic part, like it was tough. I mean, being in honors classes and trying to, do sports and still hang out with friends and deal with your family, and all of that was a lot. But the time management of it, the organization of it, my mom had like file folders of different things, and she kept everything together. So
Mm-hmm.
at no point did my grades ever slip, because
Mm-hmm.
I was so dedicated to the final the final place that I wanted to be, which was in college. So I knew that I had to, be consistent. I mean, I had straight A's through middle school, straight A's and B's every now and then in high school, but like it was just the goal. My mom, was like, hey, if you want, I love shoes. So like they're like, if you want these shoes, if you get straight A's, I'm gonna buy you these. Like it was like there were incentives to keep me going through it all. So
Right.
that was the best about it.
Wow, that's amazing. So you talked about, time management, being organized, and also the support you got from your parents, your grandparents, the encouragement from them. Your mom had a binder like, hey, this was going on Saturday afternoon, Sunday. So she kind of kept you in order. That's amazing because not everyone gets that support from parents to
Right.
keep them organized. And also you yourself wanted to achieve great things, on the field, court, or off, you want to, or track, you wanted to make sure that you excelled in all things. And it sounded like you were, I would say, a well-rounded student, because you weren't only just doing well athletically, but you also made sure you kept your grades up, high honor roll
Yes.
academically as well. You mentioned, briefly about, friends and hanging out. So I'm sure you had a lot of, friends that also traveled and played sports, probably some of the same sports or so. But outside of that, were you able to like balance like, school and friends and your sports? Because that also kind of throws a kind of challenge into it as well.
I would say if I go back and think about it, I probably didn't spend as much time with my friends outside of school, outside of like practices and in the hallway and in our common areas that we dealt with each other. I wouldn't say I majority of that time wasn't spent hanging out. I think since I was able to travel with my friends, we had opportunities in the car, we had opportunities on the bus, we had opportunities in hotels, we had opportunities in between games to like do the friend things and
Hmm.
talk and different things like that. I didn't have a lot of like sleepovers and going to different people's houses and stuff like that because I didn't have the time. But I love sports, and so my friends were always there with me. So that was our time that we actually could spend with each other. And our coaches did a really good job of like making sure that we had bonding time and that
Hmm.
if we went somewhere, oh, we all are gonna go to this movie or we're all gonna go to this, this certain place or, Dave and Buster's type situation, what we always just so we can still be kids at the end of the day.
Right, right. So, your opinion out of the three sports that you did focus on in high school, which one were you like, man, I was a beast. Like, like that was my sport.
Truthfully, if I would have started volleyball earlier, I think I would have been like super amazing at that. Um,
Uh-huh.
I was really good. So I was the Northeast Indiana where I live. I was the athlete of the year for all three of those sports because I was all conference, all area, and track. I was all state um, in all three of those sports. And so it was very difficult to um, really to pick one is hard because I was really good at all three of them.
Right, right,
Um, in picking for college, I literally had to go in depth into which one I loved more because I enjoyed all three. If I could have played all three in college, which is impossible, if I
right.
would have played all three in college because I love all of them, but I would say I was really good at track. I was like number one earlier in
Mhm.
my years in track. Just because like in basketball, you have to make your way, in volleyball, you have to make your way, you go up.
Mhm.
Um, so I would say track would have been my key sport because I was really good really quickly.
Right,
Uh, So I would say track, but I loved all of them. All of
right,
them to this
right,
day. They're like, oh, I played volleyball. Oh, I should have did basketball. That type of thing. So
right,
it
right,
was,
right,
it's a challenge to say that. But like I said, I was really good in my area of Indiana, in all three of them. And being athlete of the year, they were like, you are good at all three. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna choose?
right.
So yeah, that was. the biggest thing.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow. Player of the year in all three? Like, dang.
Yeah.
That's kind of hard to even, conceptualize, but that's amazing. That's amazing. So that kind of leads me into what you were, just kind of, talking about was, well, first kind of talk about when did you realize like, hey, I'm pretty good. And not only am I good, I can play at the next level. I can play a little college ball and, get a scholarship for free. So when was that starting to like, spin through your mind? And then which sport did you say, okay, this is the one? Even I know you wanted to play all three in college. But once you made that decision, like, hey, I can play at the next level, which sport did you kind of gravitate to more? Like, I want to play this one in college if I can only choose one of the three.
As I was playing about my sophomore year, AAU basketball, I played basketball heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I did club volleyball a few years. I did AAU basketball like every year.
Mm-hmm.
Since I was in eighth grade. So I would say I thought I wanted to be a basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad is a sports person. So we all sat in the room. I can still visualize it to this day. We sat in the room. He's like, which one do you want to do? I know you want to go to college. So I assume at first I was like, I'm going to play basketball. Like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play basketball. I'm good at volleyball. I'm getting even better. But by my sophomore and junior year, like, I was really actually for volleyball, like, junior year was the year that it
Yeah.
like everything clicked and I got it. So that was around my sophomore, in between my sophomore and junior year that we started to talk about it. My AAU basketball coach was like, listen, you can play basketball. We can take you to these, certain camps. We can go do this, go do that, get you exposure. So I'm like, okay, cool, let's go do basketball. We sat in the room. My parents sat me down and was like, all right, listen, you got three. Now we can only do one, sometimes two.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
remember and I sat and I thought and I sat and I thought and I sat and I thought and I said, okay. For me, I was like, oh, I'll be in like basketball shape if I play basketball. It will run me all the time and I'll be so strong and, whatever. And, these volleyball girls are super tall. And I'm like, I'm tall, but I'm not like 6'4" or 6'3". So I literally sat down and weighed all options, wrote it down, and was like, if I play volleyball, I'm not that tall. I probably won't go major Division 1. If I do basketball, I'm like mid-size. I probably won't go major D1. I'll probably go mid-major.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then in track, I was really good, but I didn't really do track in the summertime. Track was just kind of like, you're good at this. You're, you're winning conference, you're in the area, you're going to state, you're, doing this. But I never really thought of it like getting a scholarship in it as a thrower.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really like way outside of my thinking. So I was like,
Right.
that was it. And that's where we started. And then we started to go into the things that, college coaches would be at, making sure I was in AAU basketball, making sure all of that was just, flowing the direction that it needed to flow.
Right.
Um, and that's what I chose in that moment.
Basketball.
Basketball is what I thought I
Okay.
wanted to do in college. And so that was the choice.
I wanted to ask you because you talked about club ball, travel ball, AAU. So, and you also said a big word that kind of, exposure and getting out there, going where coaches are, college coaches are. So, who was I guess, who was your guide, or was it your, like, who was your guide in kind of that, hey, we need to do AAU ball? Because you said you play AAU ball heavy. You did some travel ball. So you were getting out there. So, like, was it just like, hey, this is what people do, so I'm gonna do it? Or was it kind of strategic, like, hey, I need to be on this AAU team because they play this team and that team and that team, and I need to get exposure, and coaches want to get me to other camps and things like that. So I kind of want to kind of pick your brain on how that came about, and how influential was that in you getting to that next level, whether it's volleyball, track and field, or basketball.
I would say that came from my AAU coach. I was with him since I was in eighth grade. He recruited
Mm-hmm.
me to be on his team. And so our
Mm-hmm.
team was a family. And he helped me with the exposure part. Like we sat down and we talked like between practices. I rode with him in practice, so we talked a lot. And I
Hmm.
was more of the older. I was an older because you go in age groups. So I was older, an older grade, but same age. So a lot of
Hmm.
them were younger. So I kind of had to get the exposure early,
Hmm.
and he actually set me up for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Just travel. So when I decided I was going to do basketball, I was like, okay, we're doing AAU, we're doing it, hard. We're traveling everywhere. That was he. We had like experiences where I forgot what they were called. Like basically a basketball showcase. And if you want to go to college, all the coaches are going to be here, and they put you on certain teams, and you basically just play with everybody that's trying to go, different schools, and you get watched like that. I went to those. He made sure that we were exposed heavily because we went to nationals a lot, so that's where a lot of the coaches were. So we had a lot of exposure when it came to it. So, but just him and the guidance of it, and him wanting all of us to go to college for it, was beneficial, and he was able to help my parents understand, like, okay, she needs to do this, she needs to go over here and do this, and you might have to drive her to Indianapolis to do this, or you might have to do all these different things, reach out to these different coaches, and he was really he really gave us a lot of information on what I needed to do.
So you got someone recruited you to play AAU ball and kind of just showed you the ropes, told your parents, hey, we need her to go here, do this and do that, so you can get opportunities, right? There's no guarantees in anything, but it just increases your opportunity to play at the next level. Before I forget, so what was your height? Because you said you weren't 6'3", 6'4", but that's tall. So like, what were you, 6'2", 6'1"?
So I only ended up at like 5'11". 5'11".
Problem.
I'm 5'11" now. Even depending on the shoes, you might
Right.
stretch a little bit to 6. But I was 5'11". At the end of it, I was about 5'11", 5'10", half 5'11".
Okay. Now it's grind time. Your junior, senior year, you're in high school. You're like, okay, I know I can do this at the next level. Let me start doing things to make sure I secure that scholarship. Whether it's basketball, which is what you kind of mentally thought you're going to do, but just at any level, you kind of looked at mid-major, low division. Like you're already looking, okay, you're already doing your
Yep.
homework and like scouting. So what were some of the tips and recruiting that you did? And did you go on any visits? After letters start coming in from coaches and strong interest from different schools.
So back to my mother, she was very organized. She
Mm-hmm.
a bucket file folder that every letter that I would get, I would put it in this bucket. I would fill out the questionnaires, send them back instantly. We did a lot of that. I had like mid-major, type after my junior year, when people can actually, when you get to start talking and different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of mid-major schools for volleyball, had mid-major schools for basketball. Um, and I had my biggest, because my junior year was an outstanding year in track, like where
Mm-hmm.
like state level, top three, that type of thing, breaking my school records and different things like that. Well, I never played summer track, so I never got any
Mm-hmm.
exposure to track and field. But track and field is about numbers. You can score 30 points in a game, but that doesn't mean you're going to Division 1. But if you
Right.
throw a certain distance in track, then you can then be seen as, oh my gosh, like this person did this. Even if it's one time, you're noticed.
Mm-hmm.
So track was way out of my thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Way. Didn't think you can get a scholarship for it. People were just like, I don't think you will. Probably a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. And my family's motive was, you're good academically, you're good athletically. We want a full scholarship. That's what we want. That's what we're going for. That's life.
Right.
Make your life easy, make our lives easy. This is it. Um, and so after having the conversation of basketball, track hit. like I said, there were, mid-major schools. We organized them. We sent them back.
Mhm.
Whoever, like call schedule. And this is back before cell phones were out. This is literally on a
Right.
landline. This is like landline in it. She had calls, but it was right after the summer of my junior year, and then
Mhm.
I went getting schools like Coastal Carolina and trying to think of like all the ones. I went from like mid-major, Ball State, whatever, to like
Mhm.
Florida State, LSU, um, Michigan State, Michigan, Illinois, bigger schools. And I was like, and this is for track. So in that moment, I was like, my I'm a Shaquille O'Neal fan. I wanted to go to LSU. That was my
Mhm.
thing. That's where I wanted to go. Love Shaquille O'Neal.
Mhm.
So when I got LSU, I'm like, I'm going. I don't care. I want to go. I want to go to LSU. This
Right.
is what I want to do. I don't care if I do track. Their school is amazing. It's great. Um, so when I started to notice the difference in, lower level schools and high division 1, Big Ten, SEC,
Mhm.
ACC, all those schools, I'm like, wow, maybe track is it. And that's where the transition began.
There it is.
And I said, maybe not basketball. I talked to the
Mhm.
basketball coach in the Carolinas, and he was like, you can do basketball and track here. And I'm like, oh, that's even better. Like, I can do both, but it's mid-major. It's not, and my dad is all about, like I said, he knows his sports in and out. He's like, listen, we want as major as we can get it. Like, this
Right.
is what we want. Um, and so that led to where track began. And then
Track.
that's when we started to order what we were doing. So now it's like, let's go back and look at all these letters,
Mm.
answer all these questionnaires, and then the calling begins.
Wow.
And like my mom, when I said we got an 8 o'clock call with this person, we got a 7 o'clock call with this person. Tomorrow, I was on the phone day
Wow.
in and day out and day
Uh-huh.
in, day out. And that was before like a bunch of emails and different things
Yeah.
like that. Like you literally on a landline phone talking.
Mhm.
So I did that for that entire summer. And
Wow.
then that's when I also was a basketball player. So in thinking of that, I told myself that's when we had signing days. So you had signing
Mhm.
in November and you had signing day in like April or something like that. And I was an athlete. So I heard of people like hurting themselves and
Mm.
then all of your scholarship opportunities go out the window.
Mhm.
So playing 3 sports, I cannot get hurt. So I said
Right.
November is going to be my signing date.
Right.
Um, so whoever, which were like about 3 or 4 schools, I think it was like maybe Michigan State, Indiana University, Southern Illinois, University of Carbondale, maybe a few others. I think Florida State
Uh-huh.
was talking, but I was very vocal about I need a full scholarship. That's
Right.
what you're competing against. When someone already offered me one, that's my starting point.
Right.
And so through that, a lot of people are like, we have to wait. They want to wait for a certain amount of time. I'm like, I really don't have a lot of time. I don't want to wait till April. I play 3 sports. I don't want to tear an ACL and then
Mhm.
I'm no longer hurt. I need to sign on the dotted line mid basketball season. And so it went from those to well, down to like 3. And
Mhm.
I took visits to them. And back when I was thinking then, I was like, which school for my sport, which is track at that point. I got a
Mhm.
basketball one, I think maybe the Michigan or Michigan State, I think something like that. But they were, waiting a little bit of
Right.
time to even have the conversation, or maybe that was track too. I can't remember. I literally a file folder of everything. Um, but I went on those 2 visits. I went to Southern Illinois Carbondale, which has like the number one track and field coach in
Mm-hmm.
the world, like the number
Mm-hmm.
one track and field coach, for throwing for me. And then I had
Mm-hmm.
IU, and IU is 2-3 hours away from home. I'm like,
Yeah.
do you want to stay in Indiana? So I took those visits. I took the Southern Illinois one, which I'm like, I'll be an Olympian here. I know I will. And then I took
Mm-hmm.
the IU one, which is like major Division 1. And
Right.
so the trying to figure that out, trying to figure out like mid-major, amazing coach, super major, Big Ten, your friends are gonna be there. What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where the visits came into play. Trying to see if I answered all that question. But that's where the visits came into play between those two schools. That's what I was down to.
Right. 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 And on those visits, so if you can kind of just share a little bit, like what took place, what happened, what captured you, what was like, I don't like that, or what was different? Did you look at coaching styles, or like just what kind of intrigued you while you were on those visits, and then what decision did you make?
Okay, so the first visit was Southern Illinois, Carbondale. He talked to me heavy. He was when there was no other coaches, he was first. He
Mm-hmm.
was first. He would when it came to track. I did talk to people about basketball, but when it came to track, he was heavy. He was like, "You're the only person I'm recruiting. Like, you're gonna be amazing. I already see this vision for you." He made
Mm-hmm.
me feel so comfortable. He called me. I think you can talk like once a week or something, once every weeks or
Mm-hmm.
something. Like he called me every time. We
Yeah.
talked. We talked about what he was doing, what his athletes were doing.
Mm-hmm.
He has All Americans, whatever. I went there first. I didn't know what to expect on a visit. I didn't. It was my first one. I
Mm-hmm.
went. I enjoyed the girls. The girls take me out to, they host me or whatever. It was great. I was sold. His wife was an Olympian.
Oh.
And um, I was like, he coached his wife. Look at all these Olympians he has. Look at all these athletes he has right now.
Mm-hmm.
They do these big, they're so strong, they're, whatever, so forth. And I was just like, I like it. Is
Mm-hmm.
it, I wasn't looking for the big, they didn't take me to a football game. They didn't take me to a basketball game.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just really strictly track. I saw the weight room for the first time, but you have to understand this is my first time seeing one. So that's amazing to me. I can't compare it to anything. So I'm like, oh my gosh, you could do this and you eat here and you go here
Mm-hmm.
and you all are together. And I was really excited about it. Like when I left, they like, do you want to get a shirt? Then my mom's like, let's get a shirt. If you want one, let's go get one. So we get a shirt and I'm sold. Like I don't need to go to IU, whatever. I got this is it. Because IU had took a long time to recruit me.
Yeah.
And I was winning our our state track meets were at IU. So I'm like, they saw
Mm-hmm.
me forever, but they never even cared. He's
Right.
talked to me since the very beginning, and then you guys want to wait until almost the summer is up, and now you want to talk to me. And when they offer me, because like I said, unless you can offer me a full scholarship, I'm not going. And so he offered me a full scholarship, and I was upset. I was upset because it's like now I have to make a decision.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And all the other colleges are like, just give us some time. We gotta
Mm-hmm.
wait. The money situation, who we get, da da da. And I'm like, listen, I'm going in November. I'm going in
Right.
November. Um, and the biggest, the biggest thing was my dad. He was
Mm-hmm.
like, this is IU. You're going to make the visits. You're taking the visits. So I said, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very, I'm not doing it. I don't think I like it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just boring Indiana. Like, even though I was in boring Illinois, it was Illinois, it
Right.
wasn't Indiana. So I get
Right.
there and The first night, I was real standoffish because I'm like, I'm just here because y'all want me to come, but I ain't going here. I'm not going here at all. And it it was it wasn't fun for them either. I don't think because I was just really not feeling it. However,
Mhm.
two of my teammates, I won. We won what six? Well, we won track in my high school. We won it 6 years in a row. So my
Wow.
track teammate went to IU, and
Mhm.
so I knew people there. But the first night, I just wasn't having it. And
Mhm.
then the second night, they took. I was able to go, and my friends hosted me, who I'm still friends
Mhm.
with now, and they took me around the team, and they I went to the an IU football game,
Mhm.
an IU basketball game in the
Wow.
same weekend, and then they took me to a probate for a Greek fraternity.
Mhm.
They took me to a party, obviously, like just to get involved with whatever's
Mhm.
going on. I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. This is amazing. Like I didn't do this anywhere else. And
Mhm.
by the end of the trip, it was the team. And I tell them this all the time. I'm friends with all of them now, still. But it was the team. It was the people. It wasn't the coaches. It wasn't
Mhm.
the facility. I mean, the facilities. The equipment room probably was the biggest one for me. Like being able to see
Yeah.
all like the back of a Foot Locker, situation with all these clothes and shoes, and you get what you want. And they really
Yeah.
sold it to me. They
Mhm.
sold it. And so by that second day, my mom was like, "So do you think you want a shirt?" And I said, "Yeah, let's go get a shirt." How I waited at that point, it was hard. It was still hard. And I loved the coach at Southern. He was like all for me. And
Mhm.
so when I realized I wanted to go to IU, I was like, he's going to be so disappointed in me. Like
Yeah.
he's gonna be so hurt. He's gonna be so upset because I'm the only person he's recruited.
Mhm.
He put all of it on me. And so
Mhm.
I was like, my athletic director at my school at that point, or my gym teacher, he was like, listen, because I was like, I think I'm going to Southern Illinois. And he was like, no, I don't think that's your type of person. I said, I think I'm a social person. So I
Yeah.
like to do social things. He was like, I don't think you socially, like, he's a really hard nosed coach. He'll get you there, but socially, I don't think you're going to enjoy your time at college. And I was
Mhm.
like, hmm. He said, if you go to IU, it's a different thing. There's so many other things outside of your athletic ability. And then you'll be the number one person there. You'll be the number
Mhm.
five person over here. And he told me that. And I thought
Mhm.
about it really hard. And I talked to my mom and dad about it. My dad was like, I want you to go to IU. He was just, about that. And he was he was very. So I said, listen, if I go to IU, you have to tell him I'm not going to Southern Illinois. I can't do it.
Yeah.
And he did. And it was
Oh man.
never
How'd it
forget that.
go?
He was so hurt and upset. To this day, he's still hurt and upset about it. I believe, yeah, it was really,
Yeah.
it,
That's
it was,
tough.
I think I cried over that. That one was really hard because we had such a connection, but I realized like, I won't take my decision back now. Still won't take it back.
Mhm.
Um, it was the best decision for me as a person.
Right.
Uh,
Right. Now, were they in the same? So they weren't in the same conference, right? Southern Illinois and IU. They were two different.
Southern Illinois. Southern Illinois is in is it Mississippi Valley? Might be, maybe. They might be in, ooh, they're in it with like Indiana State. Trying to think of what conference they're in. A mid-major conference.
Right. Right. Right.
And so Big Ten. You could be they were like, you can be a Big Ten champion. And I'm like, I've heard that before, but I haven't heard like, this conference. I haven't heard that, you know what I mean? And so they did. They sold it. They sold me on that
Yeah.
heavy.
They they brought you on the right weekend when they have football, basketball. They got Greeks crossing. They got parties. I mean, it's strategic. Like they're like, okay, the one we really want, we have to come up this weekend because this is the weekend that campus is going to be full. It's going to be live. People are going to be here. So I did want to ask, did you consider like a major at any of these schools, or like was your major at both schools? Or like, okay, if I go to this school, I can still study this, or did you go in thinking academics at all, and did that weigh on your decision?
I did, and I went into elementary education because I'm a kindergarten teacher. Being in education was going to be easier when it came to like choosing a college, unless I went to like a tech school of some sort. So I always started out the conversation with the coaches like, are you, do you have elementary education? And they're like, yeah. So I'm like, okay, cool, we can talk. A lot of that was the key points in before we even moved to the next situation, because that's what I wanted to do. There was nothing. I know a lot of people like pick certain things like, oh, they chose this instead of this, or oh, I want to be a journalist but I think I'm going to do exercise science, like that type of thing. So mine was very concrete, and it being something that was very that was everywhere. It was easy for me to be able to choose between that.
Right. And I want to take you back a little because I'm excited to kind of dive into your college years. But if I can take you back briefly, a couple of questions. The first one is, did you experience or did you have any challenges while you were in high school, being a student athlete? And if you did, how did it make you feel mentally, and how did you kind of overcome those challenges, if you had any?
The challenges mentally for me would have come from, I was good at all three sports, and it took to a certain amount of time to be great at all three sports. And so going into volleyball, I was on a lower level. I wasn't as great. Going into
Mhm.
basketball, I was doing pretty good. Going into track, I was very good. So being having to move from sport to sport and trying to get to a high level in every single one of them can be frustrating. I started off on the volleyball team, on the freshman team, the junior varsity team, the varsity team, varsity team. In basketball, I started off on the junior varsity team my freshman year to varsity, varsity, varsity. Then I actually played a little bit in my freshman year in varsity too, but not as much. So that was like that's your go-to. When you get to high school, you're like, I want to play varsity.
Mhm.
To track, I'm on varsity the entire time.
Uh,
So the struggle of being on a high level in a sport and then going to your next sport and possibly being on a lower level and trying to like understand where you want to be
mhm.
is hard, and having to get through. I gotta beat out this person, this person, this person for me to get there. And I'm competitive, so if it didn't work out or I didn't get chose or different things like that, it was frustrating. And so my dad, being the sport person he is, he might go buy VHS tape of it. He might go take me to a school, and we are going to play outside to get better. We're going to work on dribbling. I'm going to put you in a club volleyball so that you learn the basics of it. I'm going to take you to a
Mhm.
camp, that type of thing to get me, going. But like I said, the most frustrating thing is like being on top of one sport and not in another sport, and having
Right.
to work your way and fight and climb to the top, pretty much.
Right. That's a good one. That's a good one. I never heard that one. That's a good one. So I also wanted to ask you about your experience, because I know that you were a stellar student and you had amazing academic success in high school. And I'm big on talking about how coaches at the college level don't want to babysit you. They want to make sure that you can come on and not only play that sport, but also take care of your business in the classroom. There's only a few people that can really have very, very poor grades and, go to a top school, but coaches want to make sure that you can do it. And you had great grades. So I kind of want to hear your experience, how coaches kind of saw your academic success, and did that come up in conversation while you were talking to different college coaches?
My academic success, I guess, because I was very high in my class.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in that academic side of it, a lot of them kind of try to use that for their advantages
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to maybe we can get an academic scholarship and because a lot of people were like, I did have a lot of other, like I said, I got down to like 2 and 3. A lot of them did have, hey, we can give you athletic. I know we could probably get you athletic scholarship and we can also get you an athletic scholarship and put it together and then you can have this. And I was just like, I would rather, this is me in my age, I would rather it all be athletic because academics come with, if I get there and I'm not where I'm supposed to be, they can take it away
Mm-hmm.
from me, different things like that. So I was like, I really don't want to do an academic, type of situation. I would rather it be athletic. Um, and that's kind of how the conversations always started.
Right.
So being able to, decipher which one I was going to do and not do, and if they were going to offer the academic side, I kind of leaned left towards it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think majority of the time, like I said, it was the athletic scholarship that I was looking for because I knew my
Mm-hmm.
grades were great. I knew that I was going to be
Right.
able to do what I needed to do. I just don't want to take that chance. I've never been to college before. I
Right.
know the risk of the situation. So I went with athletic good.
Awesome. Right. 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 Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing that. So now you're in college, made the decision. Basically, just talk about that journey of you, coming into college. How was it being a student athlete? Like playing in the game, and also if you can kind of talk about the actual position you play. I know you said that you were a great thrower, but I don't know if you mentioned that that was going to be the position you played, or were you going to
Okay.
play other positions at the college level?
Okay. So in track, I was recruited to be a thrower, to throw shot put, discus, hammer, and weight by my
Um,
coach. When I got there, they were like, "You're going to be the number one person." You know, and I went into that like, "Oh, I'm a stud freshman," that
yeah.
type of thing. Because I'm used to, like I told you in high school, I want to be at a high level. I want to fight for my way up, but I also
Mhm.
want to be seen on a high level because that'll help me at the end of the day. That'll help my confidence at the end of the day.
Right.
And so I got there in the first, I got there in August, November, December. December, I think my coach left.
Mhm.
And I was furious. I was emotional. I didn't know what to do. Actually, it might have been November. Like I was there for like 2 months, and he
Oh
was
my
gone.
God.
So after making the decision,
Mhm.
the coach that recruits me to go here is gone.
Right.
So the amount of hurt, the amount of can I change my mind? Can I move? Can I do this? I gained a lot of friendships in college in the beginning. We were very close. It was a lot of us as freshmen, so we did everything together.
Mhm.
And I was like, can I leave? Can I do something else? Should I go to a different school? Like, that was heavy. It was
Mhm.
heavy, it was really heavy on me. And they assured me that, they would find somebody, and because he was the head coach and a specific coach. So they're like, there's a coach for jumps, there's a coach for sprints,
Mhm.
there's a coach for distance running, there's a coach for pole vault, there's a coach, there's different coaches. And he was
Mhm.
the head coach for everyone, and he was the throws coach. And so he left. And so my freshman year, athletically, was not where it should have been because his graduate
Mhm.
assistant became our coach, which who I didn't come there for. And
Right.
so I had the regret of the other coach being like, that's what you get. Ate at me. And I was like, well, should I go and transfer? Should
Mhm.
I stay here? I love the people. I love what I'm doing. I love my classes. Should I leave? And we had to go through that whole year with a interim hair coach and a graduate assistant coach,
Mhm.
and it did not pan out well.
Oh man.
I was losing. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't where I thought I would be when it came to it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a very dark year. I had fun, but it was a very dark year. I had fun, but not winning didn't make any sense to me.
Right.
Going to meets in the conference and not winning made no sense. It didn't. I didn't understand it. It
Mm-hmm.
was it was really tough. That was probably the darkest time,
Mm-hmm.
because how do you go from winning all the time and being top of the state to going and now you're not winning, even though you're a freshman. That doesn't matter to me because I know even as a freshman in track I was great.
Oh,
Yeah, I was at a higher level and now I'm not at a higher level and I'm like trying to maneuver through this whole thing without my coach that I was supposed to have, and but the expectation still being there. Being the full scholarship athlete is like you have to do this. Like, so when it wasn't happening, it was very stressful, if I can say that.
wow.
Mhm. So leading on to that, I got a new coach the following year, and it was actually a coach that recruited me
Oh,
from he worked in Richmond, Virginia.
mm-hmm.
But I basically told him I wouldn't go there because he can offer me the scholarship I wanted. So
Mm-hmm.
then he becomes the coach of where I'm at now, which kind of worked out.
Mm-hmm.
So he came and changed everything.
Mm-hmm.
Glad to have He was from my hometown. He knew people that I knew, so the connection was easier. Um, he was really involved in us socially and making sure that we were, mentally together, strength
Mm-hmm.
wise. We were not very strong at all. It's because we
Mm-hmm.
just weren't didn't have the consistency of our coach, and so that led to that my sophomore, junior, senior year, and my fifth year. Um, there were obviously bumps in the road.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so my first year, it's like I gotta prove myself to him. I gotta prove
Right.
myself, prove that I'm an amazing. If I'm gonna be this stellar athlete, I gotta
Mm-hmm.
prove it. And the first year I came out, I did really well, but not as well as he wanted me to do and or what
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to, because it was really my freshman year. So he decided that he would redshirt me my junior year. And so I redshirted that year. And I'm kind of glad I did because I ended up getting injured.
Mm-hmm.
And the fluke injury is I dropped 345 pounds of a squat rack while squatting, trying to
Oh,
bail out, and it smashed my pinky and it basically exploded. So,
oh my God. Your pinky toe.
huh?
Your pinky toe?
My pinky finger.
Oh, finger.
Yeah, I
Oh.
smashed it. So I had to have the good thing about IU, you can have surgery right there. They bring in the doctors, get it healed up. So I wasn't able, and that happened like right as our indoor season happened, and so I was unable to participate. But the good thing is, I couldn't participate because I
Right.
was richer.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually worked out. Um, that was a major injury. I had all types of injuries in between. But that was a major injury, but it actually happened at the perfect time.
Right. And you mentioned that that was your junior year, correct?
My junior, my actual junior year,
Yes.
because
And
then I had my senior and then I had a fifth year.
fifth year, okay. And
Mhm.
freshman year was when the coach left and you kind of had to like figure it out yourself because he was a thorough coach as well. Sophomore year, you got the new coach that recruited you before. You guys finally made was able to kind of meet, at the school that you were at, and you were trying to prove yourself. So you were working hard, prove yourself, and then as you go into your junior year, that's when you had the major injury. And he's like, "Hey, let's redshirt you and save your year because we don't want to." So you took I'm thinking a medical redshirt
At that point,
for
it
this.
wasn't a medical a red shirt. It was just regular. It was just a
Redshirt.
regular shirt. I just hurt myself in the process. It just took more weeks to heal. I was still able to um, throw at the end of it. And I actually qualified for the USA track and field meet that year. So I literally went from not being able to do anything, like very small, was throwing my left hand instead of my right hand, that type of thing, just to like keep the motion of things going.
Mm-hmm.
And then I healed that up and like I still gotta, be ready for this. And then I actually redshirted that year and I could still compete. I just couldn't compete as IU. And I
Right.
qualified for the USA track and field meet in Boston. So I was able to compete at a professional level
Mm-hmm.
in that year, which was amazing. And that was a confidence booster for
Right.
the following years.
Wow, that's amazing. I never knew that that was even possible. So like track and field, you're injured, you can still play, but not play for the school to save that year. So you
Mhm.
went and kind of, played on like you played and you were able to place at like you said national level or you played in Boston,
So
right?
yeah, it was Boston. So the USA track and field meet. So basically, like
USA
all the
track.
people that are professionals that are still like most people that aren't in college are there because they're doing their season, but it's
Right.
like the professional. I was up against everybody that's out of college.
Wow.
So I was able to do that.
So that's a huge confidence boost, like you said. Now I do want to ask you because I guess you did a study on, the challenges of mental health among student athletes, and one of the part of my study was when you're no longer like if you get injured and you can't play with the team, travel. Coach is like, hey, we have a budget for travel, so you can't go to this
Right.
game or things like that. So talk about your experience because you missed a whole year. Your red shirt wasn't like you weren't good enough; you were injured. So kind of speak to that if that kind of impacted you at all mentally or how did that, and of course you talked about playing, you were able to still play, so I'm sure that helped out, but not with the team, not with your girls.
That was a difficult year because you felt left out. And like I always said, like, even though you don't have quality time with friends, my teammates were my friends. So when they were able to
Mm-hmm.
travel, when I wasn't able to travel, it was just like, okay, I'm at home and they're there. And that was probably the saddest part is like not being able to go out and see like my high school friends that are in college that are doing track and meeting them in different states and being able to see them again and doing that. But I guess for me, it was the bigger picture. If I could save this year um, and go into my senior year as technically a junior athletically, I'm going to be farther ahead of the game. And it actually worked out for me. Mentally, like I said, it was just really sad to just be like not be able to be a part, like, oh, you put on the uniforms and you get all this, you get to do all that stuff. um but I guess the bigger picture and how it panned out my junior and senior year went amazing. you know my my senior year and fifth year went amazing,
Mm-hmm.
due to that break and being able to get stronger and be able, I think my coach saw that I was working hard. So he's like, if she's working hard now, I need to get her freshman year back. So
Mm-hmm.
to get her freshman year back, I need her to wait. And
Right.
in that waiting time, I'm still, you know, training with everyone. I'm still doing all those things, but not being able to enjoy oh, this person won this. And my teammate ended up winning like the Big Ten championship that year. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I could have won. What if I would have won it?
Right.
But I didn't even get a chance to win it. So that was like, next year I'm gonna win it. And
Mm-hmm.
I care. And that's where it started. So by the next year, I came out the gate, break the school record. I broke the school record. I went hard. I went so hard. I was like in the weight room all summer. I was making sure that I was, in the best shape of my life. Cause I'm like, I'm gonna win. And she got that feeling of that win, and I want the feeling of that win.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up winning my junior year. I won the weight throw first for the Big Ten. It was my first
Mm-hmm.
Big Ten championship. And
Wow.
then second in the shot put, which I should have won because I was ranked number one in both.
Mhm.
top in the nation, went into the national meet. I became All American in the weight throw, became All American in the shot put indoors. We have an indoor season and an outdoor season.
Mhm.
Then I went outdoor and I won the shot put, which is what I wanted. And the Big Ten Player of the Week started happening. All of the records were I was breaking. All of that, started coming. So then by the time my senior year got here, I was like, I gotta get this. So outdoor nationals, I think I got fourth or sixth. I got sixth outdoor. And I was like, I'm coming back and I need to win this. My fifth year, I'm gonna be the top senior. So I have
Mhm.
to. Came out the gate, ranked number one. I was number one in the world for a few weeks. I'm holding on to a few weeks. So before
Hey.
the professionals got going, I took it. I was number one in the world for a few weeks. I took a picture of it, so I just remembered it because I can say that I was at one point.
Right.
And I came out the gate. I was ranked number one, going all the way. I won the Big Tens. Went into the Great Lakes Region Athlete of the Year. So basically, half of the United States, you're the Athlete of the Year, and
Mhm.
for our region. And I won. I went to nationals, and that was where the stress came in. And that was
Oh.
you're ranked number one. You cannot lose. You really
Mhm.
gotta go for it. And the nerves came in, and I think that's where the mental health is where I needed it. We have sports psychiatrists, and my coach
Mhm.
was like, "You need to just go do it. They can teach you how to like manage like meet anxiety and different things like that." And I didn't do it because I was just like, I don't need to go to a psychiatrist. I'm okay.
Right.
Like, there's nothing wrong with me. But he's like,
Mhm.
no, it's for sport. It's for sport. Just do it. And I never did. And I regret that. I probably
Mhm.
should, because a lot of the stress from being number one
Mhm.
was heavy. And then your teammates want you to be number one and your coaches want you to be the number one. And it's like, you have to do it. And I got
Mhm.
there and didn't win. I still became All American. I think I placed fourth.
Uh-huh.
And I was just like, okay, let's do this again. You got an outdoor season, you can do it again. Came in ranked number two,
Wow.
and I was just like, oh, I'm ranked number two. I gotta win. I gotta win. I gotta win. I came in at meet hard. I was ready. In between the meet, I like got up to second on my last throw. Went from like fifth to second, and then since I was already behind everybody that was behind me, I got everybody excited, and then I ended up getting fourth again. But it it opened that door to um, what does it feel like? What is your mental health really like when you're in the sport? And what should you have done? Would I probably have done better had I went to a sports psychiatrist just to like understand
Mhm.
what I'm doing and how to manage my emotions and my anxiety. I didn't sleep, I didn't eat, I couldn't do anything, you
Mhm.
know. And so that's detrimental on your body when it's time to, do what you have to do. But it was normal to me. And so if I would have used that mental, if I would have been able to facilitate how I was thinking and preparing and all of that, I probably would have been a lot better in those big moments.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. I mean, first, kudos to all your accolades. I mean, man, you were amazing, amazing. And this, I mean, hearing you talk, so almost like the Mamba mentality, like, like Kobe Bryant, like he really loved the craft of basketball. Like he lived, eat, breathe basketball. And it seemed like, you also love track. You were motivated. You encourage yourself. You had people around you encourage you, like say your family, coaches, your teams. But all that can give you anxiety, gives you stress, it gives you worry. Like you said, you can't eat right, you're not sleeping well. You're like thinking about the next meet or the next who's ahead of me, who am I behind, who's behind me, like watching the charts and the numbers and your coach advised you like, hey, go see. And you're like at the time, it's in our community, especially African American, this is taboo. Whether coach try to spin it as always for sports, it's still, talking to someone like, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm good. But looking back now, hindsight, if you would have talking to someone or spoke to someone, and who knows, who knows? Who knows? But we live and we learn, and I'm happy you're on here, being open and sharing your story. Hopefully someone can listen to it one day and be like, man, you know what? I'm gonna speak to that counselor. I'm gonna speak to that therapist because it's only gonna better me. Um, I also wanted to ask, so all this while you're playing, you're doing well, you came back from injury, you're doing well. Academically, I mean, knowing you, I mean, I'm thinking it didn't slip, but I know you were still on it. I just wanted to confirm, like academically and the major that you were in, you were still fine. You were on track. Everything was good to go there.
Yes, everything was good. I had a lot of time, like I said, a lot of management organization. When it came to things, we had track meets on Fridays, or we had to leave on a Thursday, or we had to leave on a Wednesday. I was always going to my professor, like, hey, I need this a little bit early. I need to know what assignments are going to be due. I will get all of them done the day
Mm-hmm.
ahead. Didn't have meets. And like one of my professors who I still talk to now, she's like, you always had everything done. Like, okay, this is all done. All these four things are done. So by get to week 5, you don't have to worry about, if I'm going to have it done or I need extra time. I don't need extra time. I just need you to give me the time from the very beginning. So organizing my life and making sure that happened, it's better than like basketball that's like going on a Tuesday and a Wednesday and a Thursday. Every now and then our major things were on Saturdays,
Mm-hmm.
and majority of our meets were at our school. So we started a lot of our school. So we didn't do a whole lot of travel, but we
Mm-hmm.
did enough travel that um it like it still affect you. But I made sure that I was on it. I didn't want to have to do homework while I was there because I wanted
Right.
to focus on what I was doing. I didn't want to do any projects there. I wanted to focus on what I was doing. I had really great teammates and really great classmates. So if I needed help or hey, did you go to class? Did you take this note? Make sure that happened because I was like, I want to be honors for college too. Like I
Right.
want the same thing. So I was able to leave there with I think over like I think I had a 3.6 and I was mad I didn't make it to a 3.7.
You're
Because
so competitive.
yes, I'm competitive with myself.
Right. Right. No, that's good. That's good. Thanks for sharing. So I kind of wanted to ask, and I know you already talked about a few of challenges while you were in college, but I want to make sure that you touched on all the ones that you wanted to share about challenges in college. How to make you feel and how did you overcome them. Like I said, you already mentioned a few, but if you had any other that you wanted to share, you're welcome to.
The biggest thing that I would say is pleasing your coaches,
Mm,
which is very difficult. As much as when I won my first Big Ten championship that weekend, I was ranked number 1 in 2 events. So my coach is
mhm,
like, you can win both of them.
mhm,
And I learned a lot from my head coach, a lot.
mhm,
He was a very I see you, but I'm not going to tell you what I see type person. Like, I see what
mhm,
you're doing, but I'm not going to be like, yeah, you're doing a great job. And I'm a
mhm,
leader, so I want you to say, you're doing a good job to ease
mhm,
my stress. And so
mhm,
my very first big, or the after my restaurant year, the first indoor track meet, first event, I placed second. But
mhm,
I had got second. Before I had gotten, I don't even know what I got. Maybe like, I don't even remember. Eighth, I think
mhm,
seventh. I think I got seventh.
mhm,
And I'm second. So I'm excited. I get to medal. I get on the stage. I get the podium. I came in
mhm,
first, but I got second. It's okay.
mhm,
Understanding it's okay for me. It wasn't okay for him.
mhm,
He was not happy with my second.
mhm,
Even though it was an accomplishment that I wanted, he wasn't happy.
mhm,
And thinking about it, then I was hurt. I was like emotional about it. I'm like, you don't even like
mhm.
I won and there's no love. You don't get excited for me. Like I actually moved from one place to the next. I've been going hard.
Right.
I'm excited about my second place. He's like, you should have won though. Like, did you throw what you should have thrown? I'm like, no. He's like, well, there you go.
Mm,
And so I was hurt. Like getting your first medal and being hurt was a
mhm,
lot. But what I had to understand from that is I wasn't at the potential that I should have been at. And so he
Mhm.
was like trying to drive the potential out of me. Like you should be here. You
Mhm.
landed here. I'm okay that you landed here, but I need you to be here. If you didn't do your
Mhm.
best and you lost, then we're not happy. If you did your
Right.
best and you lost, we're good.
Mhm.
And so I came out the next day with the fire, with the
Mhm.
and I won the weight throw. So I'm
Right.
excited and I'm like, I did it. He was happy. You
Mhm.
did what you're supposed to do. You killed it. You're good. And then that day before, that amount of hurt, I was like, I'm going in. I have to win this. I don't have a
Mhm.
choice. Like in my head, even though I was emotionally hurt about not feeling the love of,
Mhm.
doing better, um, I was excited to then be able to be like, well, guess what I did? Look, you know, it's probably right here. That one right there. That's it. That's it. That will always be that will be it. And he's like, you know what? Yeah, you did. However, this is only Big Tens. We have nationals. So I was just like, oh my goodness.
Awesome.
Like I can't ever. Can I just have this moment? He's
Yeah.
like, get ready for nationals. Get ready for nationals.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay. I be- I ended up becoming an All-American at nationals, and I feel like he gave me just a little bit. He gave me
Uh-huh.
just a little more. Outdoor came, then like I said, I won the outdoor in the shot
Mhm.
put, which is what I wanted. Um, and I think I became like the field athlete of the year. I won
Wow.
like a lot, it was like a lot of stuff. Yeah, I became field athlete of the year. I broke the school record, that type of thing. And so he still gave me a little, half a clap, for the situation. That he's like, we need you to win nationals. We need you to do this.
Mhm.
You know, became All American outdoor as well. And going to my senior year, and it's like, this is it for you.
Mhm.
What are you going to do? Between schooling, I was student teaching at that time. So the time schedules were off and having to work out by myself and not with my teammates was discipline. I learned
Mhm.
a lot in my 5th year. And in that discipline, it was
Mhm.
like, my coaches is going to be here. I have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, get to this weight room, get my work in at the level that they would want me to, go do my teaching, go to practice, and that's it. And the drive for me was intense. Every time I was looking, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna, that
Mhm.
was it. Came out the first meeting of the season, number one in the world, broke the school record, broke my own record, athlete of the week, featured on different websites. Like it was like intense. I was like, I feel it, I feel it, I
Uh-huh.
feel it. Come in, rank number one to Big Ten, win it. Come in, go to nationals, don't win it. That's the emotions. You're number one,
Mhm.
but you got to be able to control the emotional part of it. And it was very hard. And so that was probably the biggest thing. And my coach was, I just like when I didn't win, because I won every meet. Every meet I entered, I won.
Mhm.
I would beat facility records every time I went. I
Mhm.
was going hard and I went to nationals and I was like, I gotta do this. I have to do this. He's
Mhm.
gonna he's gonna do it. I'm number one. I have to go number one. My parents drove 20 hours from Indiana to Texas. You need to do this. You have to do this.
Mhm.
And the stress of that just ate at me. Like to even think about it, like to smell, sometimes to smell a certain track, I can feel my nerves get bad because of
Mhm.
the atmosphere. And not winning, I'm like, he's gonna kill me. He's gonna kill me. You're number one in the nation and you got fourth, which is fine
Uh-huh.
to not good enough for myself. I was like, I lost. I'm a loser. I'm a loser. I'm a loser. And my parents like, you're a loser. I'm a loser. I was number one. And I lost. I lost. I lost. I replay. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep after it. I just kept replaying it over and over. What should I have done? What should I have done? And I lost. And I lost. And I lost. Oh, that's all I kept saying. I was like, but you can do it outdoor. And outdoor didn't go as smooth. because outdoor elements mess up
Mm-hmm.
what you do. It was rain season. Every meet, I
Oh,
feel like it rained, and it rained.
mm-hmm.
Still won Big Tens, still beat records, still did all of that. Won Penn Relays, which is like a really big meet in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
Won that. Like, oh my gosh, it's like national meet to me.
Uh-huh.
And lost my senior year again. But by that time, I was like, you know what? This stress is too much.
Yeah.
Being on top and trying to stay on top is a lot. And I
It's not,
just can't, it's, I can't, I can't do it. And so that's how I ended up, wouldn't say giving up, but like going out, like, I'm going to go out on top. I want to
mm-hmm.
be done. I could say I've accomplished these things and I can rest in that. So
Right.
that will be the thing, is the coach thing is, and your friends, like, they're like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. You're gonna win. You're gonna win. You're this or that. Like, they're boosting
Yeah.
your anxiety
Right.
in a way that I didn't understand. Had I
Mm-hmm.
done the so that's the biggest thing.
Wow. I mean, your career is just amazing. I mean, amazing. All the accolades. I mean, I keep saying accolades, but you have so many of them. I mean, you're decorated, absolutely. Now I just want, so when you said that you wanted to leave out on top, was that your fifth year, or was that still like that was your senior, that was your fifth year, right? Fifth year?
Yeah, my fifth year. So my fifth year was 2011. The Olympics were 2012.
2012. Okay. Okay.
And so there was a year in between that I had to make the decision of, do I stay and train for the Olympics, not have a job, just kind of work and train and go to Olympics? Or do I go do what I love, which is teach and make money and live when I've never lived, because I've been an athlete my entire life?
Mhm.
Well, since sixth grade. So I had to decide. And in that decision, my friends and my family are like, you got to take the Olympic year. You got to do the Olympics. You have to, whatever. And I was just like, I didn't like the feeling of the anxiousness of trying
Mhm.
to do something and still not be what I would think for the perfection in me is praise for something. Like, what if I try and I get to the Olympics and I don't make it? Then
Right.
I'm a failure. Or I can go over here and coach and make athletes,
Mhm.
and I can work and be a teacher and try to still train at the same time to see if
Mhm.
this is what I really want to do.
Mhm.
When I realized the real world was the real world, it was it was impossible.
Mhm.
My district that hired me knew that I was gonna attempt the Olympics, and so that was like a big thing. Like, my principal was just like, if you gotta leave, during a certain time, whatever, because you have, a substantial amount of time that you would have to be gone for that, like, we will accommodate the situation, like everything. And so I was like, okay, maybe I can do this. But trying to train by yourself after you train at a high level with other people is
Mhm.
very difficult.
Right.
The pressure of, should I do it or should I just lay down because I want to lay down? Like, is
Right.
a situation. Um, and it didn't pan out. And I decided not to. That comes with leaving college with minor injuries that are now
Mhm.
bigger injuries because you're not trained the way you're supposed to.
Mhm.
It was a lot of that. And so I said, you know what? They won't forget faith. They'll ask why faith didn't continue, but they won't forget faith because of what she did at the end. And I
Mhm.
said, yes, kind of like the Muhammad Ali, I want to go out on my top type
Right.
situation. Um, I don't want to continue to work for something that I didn't love at that point because I needed
Mhm.
validation. And
Mhm.
that validation didn't come in that year.
Mhm.
I won every meet and was never excited. Like, it
Mhm.
was like, yeah, I won. My friends make me, excited, but I just felt like I never got there for everyone. And so I just like,
Yeah.
I don't want to continue to live in that. I
Hmm.
don't want to continue to live in, oh my gosh, like I gotta go to this meeting. What if I lose? Then I'm a professional and I'm getting beat by college people. Like the stress of that and the mental from that. I was just like, I'll be a teacher and I'm gonna be a amazing teacher. And so if I was like, if I can be an amazing teacher and be the coach that I always wanted in high school, definitely because it's hard to get a really, really good coach in high school. And I can be that amazing coach, then that'll benefit me for what I do. And that's what I decided. And I wouldn't take back being a teacher of the year nominee, Department of Ed educator of the month, having my, athletes now, one of my athletes won state and like
Hmm.
having that feeling or being able to, and me feel it from a coach's standpoint and feeding into her what,
Hmm.
yeah, you won that meet or you did win that, but this is what we're going for. And being able to
Hmm.
let her feel that, and those other athletes, like just teaching them how I want it to be taught,
Hmm.
and helping with that mental part. Uh, that was what benefited me at the end of the day. Right now,
Wow.
I do private coaching uh, because it gives me more time to. It doesn't take as much time as being a high school coach, and it gives me students that want it. They have the drive to want it, and they want me to help them. And so I'm
Right.
really big on that part. So that's where I decided that that wasn't going to be the best fit for me to continue. I still watch it. I still applauded my friends that did it. All the people that I went up against. Everybody's like, well, why didn't you? It's not for me anymore. I don't enjoy it.
Right.
And I don't want to do
Right.
anything I don't enjoy.
Right. 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 And that was the choice that you made. No one made it for you. You could have done it. You could have went out there and tried, but you weighed your options, just like you did from the very beginning. In the high school, you weighed your options, your pros and cons, what I want to do, how am I feeling, and you chose, I'm fine. I'm gonna go work. I'm gonna pour into these young athletes and teach them how I wish I was coached. So I definitely tip my hat off to you and commend you. That's amazing. So we're almost through. We've got a few more questions to kind of throw at you.
I'm good.
So yeah, so if you can, and you talked about some dark times and some trying times in your student athlete career, but if you can talk about one moment that was like embarrassing, most embarrassing, or one of your lowest moments, how did you feel mentally, and also how did you overcome and bounce back from that moment?
I would say my freshman year in college,
Okay. Yep.
when my mind said, you're the best athlete out here, but physically,
Hmm.
I was not the best athlete. Um,
Hmm.
Not making it to a final was detrimental. In a shot put, there are two different ways that you technically can throw it. So in high school, for throwing the shot put, there are two techniques. You are a glider or you are a spinner. In high school, I was a glider. It's the easier way. It's one motion. A spinner, you're spinning around and letting the ball go at a certain time. And you have to be able to time it up. So my coach leaving, not having like the best, you know, coaching and technical part of it, I just was going out there and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to win. I'm ready to this. I'm ready to that. And I'm going, and there are sectors that the ball has to stay in. And the way that our track is set up, there's a track right around the outside of it. So if
Hmm.
you don't aim the right way, you hurt people. And I'm going into it and I'm like, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. And I remember when I'm about to go, I take a certain type of pause. I look at my surroundings in front of me and I see a runner because simultaneously they're running and I'm throwing. He runs in front of
Hmm.
me and I'm like, wait a quarter tenth of a second until he passes you before you start.
Hmm.
God bless him. I waited. I went to spin. I'm going for it. These are the sectors. I
Mhm.
throw way out here. It jumps on the track behind the runner in the middle of a track meet, travels
Mhm.
all the way down to the other end of the track. I could have killed it.
Oh.
And I instantly am embarrassed. I'm crying because I'm like,
Oh.
I'm horrible. I don't know how to throw. Now I've just showed the entire world. I don't know how to, like, to me, the world, that I don't know how to
Yeah.
throw. And I'm upset. And a girl from, I'm hurt. I'm like, I don't want to spin anymore. I just want to go back to what I do. Like, don't try to change me. Like, forget
Mhm.
it. And a girl from Ohio State came up to me, and her name was Victoria, I think. And she was like, no, you're gonna be amazing. Don't quit. Don't feel this way. You just have to get through this. It's gonna be hard, but you gotta work at it. From a completely other school. She was from Ohio State. Like, us meshing is just not what's supposed to happen. But she
Mhm.
saw in me how frustrated I was with it.
Mhm.
And she gave me all this positive feedback. And to this
Mhm.
day, she was a senior at the time. I was a freshman. And she was like, you have so
Mhm.
many years to be great. It's gonna be okay. But at that point, I was just like, I'm horrible. Like, I've
Mhm.
never been horrible at this. And now I'm picking I only have to focus on one and I'm horrible. Um, and that opened my eyes. And I was like, you know what? I just gotta work harder at it. It's gonna take more time for me to be successful at
Mhm.
it. And 5-time All-American, 4-time Big Ten champion,
Right. Right. Right.
2-time Big Ten Athlete of the Year. I think, I came back from
Yeah. Yeah.
2007 to 2011. I think I did a pretty good job, but it was her words that were like, "Hey, you can't give up yet. It might be embarrassing. You might have almost hurt someone,
Mhm.
but when are you
Yeah.
gonna?" So that was a big portion of that.
Wow. Shout out to Victoria, wherever she is
Shout out to
now.
Victoria
Words matter.
wherever. I love her. Words matter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that kind of leads me into one I want to ask you next. You have a lot to choose from. So if you can share like your most greatest achievement as a student athlete, sports or academics, what would that one achievement be that you're like, I'm proud of that time, that moment, the work I put into achieving that.
The best academic and athletically, one of each would be the first time I became an All American. Um,
Wow.
I won the Big Tens, which was Big Tens, but going to
Hmm.
national, I wasn't ranked very high, wasn't ranked to be
Hmm.
an All American, and going into the meet and becoming one made me understand like my coach's dynamic of you need to come out better than you came in. And getting that first All American trophy, I remember praying like, please don't let anybody beat me. Just let me just make it. I think I came in like 11, and I think I got seventh, which qualifies the top 8 were All Americans or the top 9, and I got it.
Hmm.
And I was just so excited, like that feeling of like you did it, and then you did it
Hmm.
in not just your favorite event, which is the shot put. Well,
Right.
I did it doing it in the shot put, but the very first one, I did it in the weight throw, which is something that I had to work for because I had
Hmm.
no idea. Um, so that would be the biggest athletic accomplishment because I feel like people were proud.
Uh-huh.
And I beat people out. So I actually went from like 11th to 7th. Like that's why I was ranked.
Hmm.
I came out better than I was ranked. And
Hmm.
then academically was becoming an academic All American. And not a lot of people, Arthur Ashe Junior Sports Scholar and the athletic or academic All American because having the grades, being like they have Big Ten, all academic and different things like that. But being the academic All American was
Hmm.
like, you have the athletic part. This is from my grandma. You have the
Hmm.
athletic part, and you have the athletic. You have the athletic part and the academic part together.
Mhm.
And that's what it's called, student athlete. So doing that, having that, and at the end of the day, being able to walk across the stage and be an academic All-American was amazing to me. So that's the biggest accomplishment academically. And then the biggest accomplishment athletically was winning my first All-American trophy.
Wow, that's phenomenal. Yeah, shout out to grandma for the encouragement and wanting you to, be a
Rest in
successful
peace.
all around. Rest in peace. Rest in
Rest
peace.
in peace to my
Yeah. So as we all know, hindsight is 2020. So if you can look back on your student athlete career, high school, college, and what is one thing that you would change, and why would you change that?
in college. What I would change is making sure that my mental health that I didn't know that I probably had, and the anxiety that I had for meets and, my want for organization and perfection, and making sure that I was able to speak to someone, get a better understanding of how I felt, because I feel like that part leads with eating, that part leads with working out, that part leads with all things as one. And so I feel like I was in a better headspace of understanding my emotions. I dealt with a lot. I had, classmates that were, like that had deaths. I had, like different things, but I know how to handle them besides do track. And I feel like if I would have
Mhm.
handled that, I would have done track better. I believe I would have been more than a 5-time All American. I would have been more Big Ten champion had I known how to deal with what I do
Mhm.
and what happens to me in those moments. Not eating, not sleeping, those different things. Someone helping me how to handle this. That would be the biggest thing that I think I want to change is 100% the mental aspect of it and being able to address my feelings. And if I'm not doing the things that are right, since no one is there to watch me, um, have an accountability partner for that.
That's a good one. That was amazing. Well said. Well said. Thank you. Thank you. So now we're getting to the scale up moment of this session. This is what I call it. So if you could sit down and speak to a young, female or male, middle school, high school student athlete who wants to play at the next level, whether that's high school or college or professional, what would be some of the gems or advice or tips that you would give them, for them to have a successful journey, and to have multiple of opportunities, in their quest? And I know you've given a lot of gems already, but if you can just
Mhm.
kind of put it all into this one scale up moment, that would be amazing.
I would say, what's so funny about it is I just did ESPN Women's Campus Conversations for this and speaking to
Hmm.
student athletes that are freshmen, juniors, seniors. And I think it was an amazing experience being able to get them to understand how these things and getting it out. And so some of the things I took with that and I have been doing with different, I just did one with high school students this weekend and middle school students, but the biggest thing is self-satisfaction. And when we think that success is the ability to, win things, achieve things, but sometimes it's what you leave as well. So with that, you have to have self-satisfaction in I'm going to do this. If I'm able to do this, I'm okay with it. And it's not based off of what everyone else feels. And once you get to that place of not worrying about if this person's going to feel this way, because you're never going to satisfy everyone, it's always going to be tough to satisfy people. And so you can be amazing, you can think you're being perfect, and it's not going to look that way to everyone. So once you have that understanding that you are going to be happy for you, that's the satisfaction that you're going to get. Um, I would say there's so many. It's not like as many as accomplishments that I have had and I have won and done. The biggest thing that I feel for myself is what people learn from me. And so
Mhm.
what you're doing is going to be on what's going to be on a major scale of what people see in you.
Mhm.
So to have an athlete say, "Oh my gosh, you did this. How did you do that?" Or watching me be a role model for other people and letting them, see that. Like when I was a senior and I have freshman teammates, I have to show them exactly what it looks like to be where I'm at. If I'm not showing
Mhm.
them the positive way, then what am I doing? How am I going to benefit them when they get to my stage? So
Mhm.
being able to make sure that there's no such thing as perfection, but showing and growing at the end of the day.
Mhm.
You still have to grow within yourself, and in growing within yourself, you're showing other people what that looks like. And so that would be a biggest thing. But like I said, always being yourself and being your biggest cheerleader. And I tell the kids all the time, your parents are always going to be there. They're always going to be cheering you on. It's not about anyone else. It's about you at the end of the day.
Mhm.
And when there are opportunities for you to do bigger things, when there are opportunities for you to be a part of bigger things, always say yes. Continue to do bigger and better based off of what someone has offering was offering to you. And I think I said in the campus conversations, like always say yes. Don't say no. Be that person that stands out, that shows role model leadership. Because like I told them, I was a freshman at IU and I probably was sitting listening. I said, and I end up being a leader at IU. I'm being brought back right now to talk to you about my journey because of how I went through college, what I did,
Mhm.
what I showed to everyone. So always make sure that wherever you're showing exactly who you are and what you want people to see at the end of the day.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much. I'm sure that the community of scale is going to appreciate that. And I hope they can take some gems and apply it to their journey and find success like you did in throughout your journey. Um, so what is Faith up to these days? What's going on in your world?
In my world, it's navigating my busy world. I am right now I'm a kindergarten teacher and I am also a private track and field coach. So
Mhm.
I do private track and field rowing lessons for, as young as they can, as long as they start. I manage a tutoring service that I tutor students from ages 3 to 8. It's more like enrichment. Some people are, they're 3 years old, what are you doing with a 3-year-old? It's teaching them the basic skills. Not all parents know how to teach their children where to what to do, and just making sure they're developmentally appropriate. And so turn that business, which is booming right now, into an educational service, which is my next thing. That's what educational service will be like, helping with parent engagement. The parents have questions about different things that are happening in school. They reach out to me, just getting parents prepared, getting students prepared on all levels. So that's what I'm doing there. I'm also diving into the world of speaking to athletes, younger children, middle schoolers, high schoolers about sports and being a woman in sports at the end of the day. I've done ESPN this weekend. I've done another, it's called Sowing Seeds with Faith. They did a event where I was a panelist on that, and just opening the doors to like being able to share my story and how I got to where I am, and inspiring the future.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, keep doing what you're doing. I mean, with the youth, with the athletes. I mean, you just pour into other people, and I'm sure more blessings will continue to come back to you and all that you do. So thank you for your service and all that you give back. And also, I will say you also, teach my young niece. So shout out to her. Shout out to you.
Shout out
For
to Lola.
Yeah, Lola. Yep. She's gonna kind of make the connection. So that shout out to her. Um, and then just kind of wrap up. So this is like an open floor part. So you can kind of, if there's a question I didn't ask or a topic you wanted to address throughout this session that we didn't get to or you didn't get to dive in deep, I kind of open the floor up. This, you can end it, or if you want to share some more, please, the floor is yours.
I just to end it in saying that all accomplishments aren't always actual awards. Accomplishments are getting through things. If you're not good at organizing, now organizing your life could be amazing. Academically, moving up the, moving up, to different tiers of, how I went from, C's to B's to A's. Like every accomplishment is your own. Athletics comes with taking pride in what you do, working hard and being consistent. You have to be consistent in order for it to work. Everyone says hard work, hard work, hard work, but you can have hard work on Monday, not have it on Tuesday, have it on Wednesday, not have it on Thursday, but it's the consistency that's going to be beneficial at the end of the day. Like I said, the accomplishments of life and having your mind set on those things and working hard for it is going to always be beneficial all around. Making sure that your mental health is okay, talking to someone. I was a yes person. Like, I'm tired, but hey, do you want to go do this? Yeah, sure. Let me go do it. But it's okay to say no. It's okay to be like, no, not tonight. I need to get my head, ready for this or, that. Like I said, dealing with your mental health, going to see someone, going to talk to someone, even if that is your coach. Like, listen, today's not my day. Not hiding your feelings all the time. That will be beneficial to, the healing of whatever you're dealing with at that point and letting people know not, holding it inside all the time. But like I said, majority of it is athletic ability. Having athletic ability is always great. Being consistent in what you're doing is always great, but honing in on all of it together and making sure that it's what you want. Don't go into anything not doing what you want. Like I said, I wouldn't take back my decision for college. I wouldn't take back my decision for not doing three sports in the beginning and trying different things. I would take none of it back. And when you can feel that you're done, it's it's okay. Everything's gonna be okay. And so a lot of athletes are like, oh, I need to do this because this person did this, or I'm gonna play basketball because I'm gonna be in the NBA. If that's not what you really want to do at the end of the day, and you're only doing it for what you see in front of you, it's not gonna be beneficial for you. So you want to go into doing things that you love. I wanted to be a teacher. So when I was done, I was like, I'm okay being a teacher because that's what I want to do. Won't change it for anything. Could I wish I'd been an Olympian instead I went to, the London Olympics? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it doesn't take away from what I'm doing now. The accomplishments I have now in my normal life and being that amazing teacher and inspiring others to do things while still being an athlete. I'll still go play basketball. I'll still go get on an intramural team and show that competitive side and all of that. But it's what I choose to do. I want to leave a legacy of this is what Faith did. This is how she did it. And it's amazing. If I'm not here, that's what I want people to be able to say about me. So that's the
Amazing.
these things.
Amazing. Hey, Faith, you dropped a lot of gems. You shared a lot of insights. I learned a lot. I really, really appreciate you coming on the scale for sharing your journey. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I loved it. It's great. I'm glad that
Absolutely.
you're putting a platform out here for, student athletes, your students, whoever wants to get involved in it, to understand from the perspective of people that did it. I wish there was, something like this I could listen to and listen to someone's story and how it works before I got started. And maybe the journey would have been different. I don't know. But being able to do that and hear that and listen from someone else's perspective is going to be beneficial for someone. So if I move one person, I'm good with that. So that's exciting to me.
Yes, yes, man. Well, thank you. And well said. Thank you so much. We'll have you on again. If you ever want to come back on, you're always welcome. Thanks
Definitely.
again and have a blessed night.
Thanks for tuning in to Scale, Sports, Knowledge, and Life, a space where we empower student athletes. Please like, share, follow, and subscribe.